Okay, let's answer some questions, shall we? So the next thing I was gonna talk about was my mission. So it's an easy segue. I went to Santiago in the Dominican Republic. And a little preface, if you didn't know, Mormons can elect to go on a mission where basically for 2 years if you're a man and 18 months if you're a woman, you go to a different place. A lot of times in foreign countries, and you do what is called spreading the gospel, which in essence means baptizing people in the Mormon Church. At this point, there was a few good things that came out of it. Like I learned Spanish, I learned a lot about myself and how I work best. I think the worst thing that came out of it was probably like some PTSD that I have that I'll dive into in another video. The thing is, I think missions are highly unethical because no matter how much people say it, missions a lot of the times are not about people, it's about numbers and like how effective of a missionary you can be, how many numbers people you can baptize. Every week you create goals and you report your numbers, and it's like if you're not baptizing people, then you're failing as a missionary. The problem is that most times you are baptizing children. The amount of 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds that were baptized in the Mormon Church by missionaries on my mission, including people I baptized, was baffling. And you baptize them and they never come back. On my mission is also when I first had the first faith crisis I ever had that made me question things, which let me record another video and explain some other things about my mission. So if you haven't seen the other parts yet, this is part 5 of why I left the Mormon Church, and I'm talking about my mission today. Mormon men and women can elect to go on a mission, and I went to the Dominican Santiago mission. It's unpaid, and you actually are paying for it, and it was traumatizing for me. It was terrible. The first six months, I battled like severe anxiety and depression every single day, where I didn't ever feel happiness. All of my smiles and everything was fake. I did everything I possibly could to be proactively happy, and it didn't work. But this is really a big part of missions, is that nobody is really happy the first 6 months until they get normalized to how brutal it is. Because you wake up at 6:30 a.m., you go to sleep at 10:30, and you work like 12 hours a day. And mind that you have one day off, and it's from 6:30 to 5 p.m., and that's the only day you can talk to your family. This whole time you can't watch TV, can't watch movies, you can't even go on the internet. The only things you can do is read the scriptures and proselyte, like bring people quote unquote to Christ. For me, my mission was unique though, because at 1 year after being there, I got sent home. I got I had this rare like disease thing and I got sent home. And I was home for 6 weeks. And I didn't want to go back because why would you want to go back to a mission when that shit is horrible? And I remember I was talking to my mission president, the person overseeing my mission, and he manipulated the hell out of me and told me that I promised people in the pre-earthly life that I would find them on my mission. If I didn't come back, I would be failing them and their souls would never be saved. So it's kind of hard to say no when you promised souls in the pre-mortal life that you would save them. And if you don't go back to your mission, they'll never be saved. And they're basically cast out and condemned from the opportunity of living with God again, which is a lot to hold on a 19-year-old's shoulders. Okay, part 2 coming. This is already long. Hopefully you're here because you're watching the series Why I Left the Mormon Church. This is part 6, and I'm talking about my mission. If you haven't seen the other ones, go back. So I just finished talking about how my mission president told me that if I didn't come back to my mission, souls wouldn't be saved. So I went back to my mission, and every single day I had even worse anxiety and depression than I did before. I remember my mission companion was like, "Bro, do you even want to be here?" And I was like, "Don't ask me questions you don't want the answer to." And then I started seeing the mission like therapist. And he basically helped me like kind of mentally work through some things I was going through, like with anxiety and depression and stuff, which it did help. Granted, the mission did cause it all, but it's fine. But real quick, the first day I was back, I literally was walking through flooded water that was up to my kneecaps. So it's like, bro, I left beautiful Texas to come walk in knee water floods for 12 hours a day. No, what the fuck? Anyways, so I was there again for another few months. And after like 3 months of being there again, I started to have weird pain going throughout my whole body. So like one day I wouldn't be able to use my whole right leg because it just like would be hurting so bad. The next day it'd be my whole left arm. The next day after that, it'd be my whole left leg. And it just kept going forever and ever. And I was trying to figure out what was going on. And I, talked to the mission president, his wife, the doctors. I went to the doctors like 6 times and they couldn't find out what was wrong with me. Turns out I had 5 herniated discs on my back. Look at the picture. So this is what actually happened to me. On my 5 lower lumbar disc, they were all herniated. Or 3 were herniated, 2 were slipped. And that shit was brutal. And so eventually I wasn't able to walk without having like excruciating pain in my back. And this was January 2020, so 2 months before COVID even started too. And I got sent home again because my back was literally basically broken. And I was so scared that my mission president would ask me to heal and then come back again like he did the first time. But this time, because it had been 18 months in my mission, I was cleared to just go home and stay there. This is going to be a little long. This ended up causing like a ton of PTSD for me because I would wake up from nightmares that I had to go back to my mission. Those nightmares stopped like last year. So from 2020 to 2023, consistently over those 3 years, I would have these nightmares where I would have to go back to Dominican Republic, and it would be like the worst dream and nightmare. And I would wake up sweating and like pissed that I was stuck there and I couldn't leave. Because missions, even though you elect to be there, they're basically impossible to leave. So you feel like imprisoned because you're there, and like no matter how much you didn't want to be there, you were stuck. And when I was there the second time, I didn't want to be there, but I felt forced and I felt obligated to be there beyond things that I could even explain. And I felt like God made me be there, and like it wasn't a punishment, it was my force, and it was like my will in life to have to serve God. But turns out I wasn't serving God, I was serving a racist white man. Next part coming.